This morning I was up in this canyon up here when two trucks pulled in the base of the mountain, and I had three guys that got out of their vehicles. They all had guns. And when the guy brought out a rifle, started walking up toward me. They were still about a half-mile away. I was up near the crest of the mountain, and I went up over the top, and I came down through a side canyon, a big circle back to the trailer. And I don't know what they were hunting, and I wasn't going to stick around to find out. I always carry this, but it's no good against a rifle. That's funny, initially they were parked way over here. They got out of the vehicles and they looked up there and they could see me up on the mountainside. They all got back in their vehicles, went back down the road, and started driving right up toward me, up toward the canyon. And when the guy got out and he had that rifle, I knew that something wasn't quite right. That's the first incident I've had like that. Might have been purely innocent, but I wasn't going to stick around to find out. It's kind of a pretty shot with the evening sun hitting those mountains. Sorry about the telephone wire though. Once the sun goes behind Cunningham Mountain over here, she cools right off. It's nice and warm all day today. Last night was 24. In the morning, the sun comes over the Livingston Hills right here. Usually about just about 8 o'clock. Well, I'm going to spend a few more days here, and then I'm going to move my camp on the other side of the expressway. There's a lot of activity going on over there, a lot of trailers, motorhomes, and when I'm up on the mountain, I watch people, they're all metal detecting. I'd rather get into a place where there's more people. That way you kind of look after each other. Of course, it doesn't bother me to camp alone like I do out here. If I had any trouble, somebody get a load of number 4 in the butt. Depending on the situation, I wouldn't hesitate to do it either. It's nice and warm in here. The sun during the day really warms things up. I'm reading Ernest Hemingway, A Life Story. It's a good book. It's 1,000 pages. Boy, he was a son of a gun when he was younger. I bought Anthony a scorpion. Send that to him. I'm going to buy Amber some turquoise jewelry. Send that along. I think he'll like this. Just a little fella. Hasn't grown his arms yet. Now, one thing you don't do out here is lean on things or get too close and brush your pant leg up against it. Everything's got thorns out here. There's El Campo. This is one of the largest cat claw bushes I've ever seen. It's got a trunk diameter of just about a foot. Little cat claw spurs right there. This cactus is about 20 feet tall. Now this cactus here has definitely got a problem. Looks like cactus leprosy. Eventually when the cactus dies, it ends up with this skeleton underneath. Pretty solid. Doesn't look too healthy. I can't recall seeing a cactus with 7 arms sticking up like this. It's the first one. Usually they have 1 or 2. Well, this cactus isn't in excellent shape either. It's had a lot of burrowing done in it. Birds, wood rats. Some of these cactuses are several hundred years old. Here's a 4-foot teddy bear cactus. There's a lot of wild mistletoe out here too. Been standing underneath this for a couple days, but nothing's happened yet. These trees in the wash right here really take a beating. The rocks come flying down here and smash into the lower branches. There's a pack rat nest right here. It's about 3 feet high. Now out here I don't find very much man-made articles in the pack rat nests. basically glass, bottle glass. But you don't find the bullets and the casings like you do in California. Apparently these people in Arizona don't have that shoot 'em up mentality that the Californians seem to have. Well, I'd like to videotape a real gully washer coming down here sometime. Now this cemented gravel here sometimes will have gold in it, and I've been checking it. It's a natural lime cement deposit. Yeah, the gold we find here, washes down from the deposits up here in the mountain, and might take 50,000 years to travel that distance to get down here. Many times you'll find these cactuses, even the 20-footers, growing right up on top of the mountains. There's one up here that you really can't see. I'm going up around the mountains tomorrow and take some video. Leave my metal detector back at the trailer. Oh, there's a big one right up there. Now here in the wash, you can see where someone's been using a dry washer. They'll shovel out material from the bottom of the wash, put it through their dry wash machine. That classifies out the bigger stones, and classifies out the finer stuff, and then the gold gets caught in the screen on the dry washer. But it's so wet now that people won't be able to use dry washers for probably 6 months. The material has to be perfectly dry. This is somebody's corner claim marker. Southwest corner. Name of his claim is Crooked W number 2. Well, every day down there in quartzite, you see more and more trailers starting to spread out into the desert. The big trailer parks, RV parks down there now aren't full yet, but by January 20th they'll be full, and then the campers and trailers will start moving out into the desert areas. And when it's at its peak, there's going to be about 30 to 40,000 trailers, campers, motor coaches, all through the desert. Population during the peak on any given day will be about 60 to 70,000 people. And a lot of those will be staying just a day or two or a week. they'll have several 100,000 people at the flea market and quartzsite. They have a gem show, mineral show. They have a big fly-in. All of these private planes come in. It's a combination of a lot of different things that go on during the same time down there at quartzsite. Brings in all the people. But the rest of the year, the population is about 600. So the people who own the gas stations and the restaurants and the RV parks do pretty good during the month or two that this thing takes place. It's supposed to be one of the largest flea markets in the world. I'll do a little videotaping down there, see what it's like. Personally, I'll stay up here where it's less congested. I can always drive down and get into the festivities. I've got some friends who are going to be here in about a week, and I'll probably go down there and have dinner with them a few times and play some videos, some of them that I've taken. Well, there's a tremendous amount of quartz on the ground up here. A lot of it's mineralized. Just tons of it. That's probably one reason they call this place quartzsite, or the town. Well, it looks like every other rock is a piece of quartz. You take a piece like this, and if there's a little gold attached to it, it won't sink like the quartz does, or the gold does with just one chunk. Big chunk of gold will go right down the bedrock. It'll stay there. But you take a big piece of quartz like that, and that gold will stay right up on top of the ground. Well, here's a highly mineralized piece here. That's got a lot of, the dark stuff is the iron. Then the iron stains the white part of the quartz. Of course, when you have mineralized quartz like this too, you can have gold any place in it. Sometimes it's real fine microscopic stuff. But other times you'll have a chunk sticking to the side. It says no mining of any type without written authorization from Ponderosa Gold Incorporated. Well, where I was yesterday, up on the side of this peak up here, there's 3 old gold mines, look like maybe 50, 60 years ago. And I was on the tailing pile of one of those gold mines when those 2 pickup trucks were driving back here, and they stopped and they saw me up there. Then they drove back, took the other road, and started up into the valley there, and that's when I went up over the top. And I cut behind the mountain, took this wash along the base of the mountain over here, and then went back to the trailer. This is a much better campsite where I'm at. right now. The last time I was here, last May, I camped over here about 200 yards from the expressway. All night long, 7 days a week, you'd hear those trucks going through, semis, going to Los Angeles. Now, somebody over here on the other side of the expressway has got one of those big motor coaches parked. They're like a Greyhound bus. It's not the same colors that Van had on his. Well, Van and Ann are supposed to be up here. They're the ones with the big motor coach that I videotaped last summer. But I think they're going to be set up down here right in town. And we'll go down and visit. Now they're going to go to Alaska next summer and spend a month or two, and they don't call it prospecting, they call it golding, like hunting. That's the term they use. They're going to be golding in Alaska. They live in Chula Vista, which is south of Los Angeles. And if I ever make it down to the Baja Peninsula to videotape those gray whales during the winter months, I'll stop in and see them. We've got an open invite, so definitely take them up on it sometime. I wonder what kind of a place they live in. The motor coach runs about $150,000. The inside is really luxurious. Well, the mountain over here is casting its shadow on the Plumosa Plain. And once the shadow takes over, she gets pretty cool. You can see all of the trailers over here starting to pop up. Every morning I get up, I notice quite a few more. They pull in during the day or evening. There's a whole bunch of them up here, and I'm going to set up my camp over here in a few days. There's a real concentration of people using metal detectors. I watch them when I'm up on the hill, and from what I was told, that's all free land over there. There's no claiming. Public land. Just go in and do your thing. Most of this over here is claimed up, but the group that I belong to, we've got a half mile along the expressway, and it's a couple hundred acres, so it kind of gives me an in over here. Besides, even if it is under claim, you can camp really any place you want to. They can't kick you off. The only thing they can prevent is you taking minerals off the property. Well, that shadow's going to hit me pretty soon here. Down here and take a little sunset. See, I'm right on the edge of the mountain shadow. It's over here about 50 feet. Now, we haven't had real good cloud cover for sunsets. What you need is those long streaky clouds with light in between. And all we've had pretty much is just clear skies. And that really doesn't make for a good sunset. Got to have a little cloud cover in there. Right now I'm in the mountain's shadow. Get down here just a little bit more. Get too much sunlight, it doesn't really take effect here. We get a little cloud cover in the evening, and I'll take a good sunset video for you. Now I had one last year when I was here last May, and at that time, okay, the sun's here now in January. At that time, the sun was over here, and I had a real good color sequence in the video for sunset. You can see all that white quartz here. Just tons and tons of it. 99% of it will not have any color with it. It's that 1% that I'm looking for. Actually, you can take a metal detector and go any place through here and find gold. But the washes are better because a lot of the material is washed away, leaving the gold on the bottom. Getting chilly. Last night was 24, and the high today was about 56. Now that's temperature taken in the shade. If you have dark clothes on, when the sun hits you, it really warms you up. It feels more like 70. But out here, if you're in the shade, she's cool. Someone had a survey stake here at one time. You know, they put up these claim stakes, and they might give up on the claim, and those things will stand for 20 years. Everybody comes in, they think it's all claimed up. Well, it isn't. Every year they have to renew their claim. They have to pay so much for assessment work. That's work that was put into the claim. And if they don't do that, then the claim is no longer valid. So, like myself, I could go in there the day after their claim validation expired, and I could claim it myself. Unless it's a hot piece of ground, it's not worth bothering with, though. Boy, I'd like to be able to tap into this electricity up here. But I'm not an electrician. Now this claim marker over here is one of mine, or I should say one of the organizations. Northwest corner, OK1. seen a lot of jackrabbits out here. I haven't taken any pot shots at them, but you can tell they haven't been shot at very much because they'll hop off for about 100 feet and then sit there and look at you. I think I'll entitle this video Walks and Talks with Steve Sierra. Did a lot of work on my trailer today. I replaced some of the burned out lights up there and did a lot of clear caulking above my windows because the stuff they had up there was deteriorating. And I painted my wheels chrome. Use some chrome paint on the wheels. Makes them look a lot nicer. Before they were kind of a dirty cream color. Always put up my beware of dog sign. That's cheap insurance. Usually when I get bored with looking for gold nuggets, I'll work on the trailer, or I do a lot of reading, or I'll do a lot of writing. I like to write in my notebook. The mountain's shadow is pretty well hit the whole countryside here. These are the Cunningham Hills over here. And right now, Arizona time, it's 5:35. The mountain shadows just about reach the Plumosa Mountains over here, but not quite. Another 10 minutes, it'll hit the base of the mountains. In about a half, maybe 20-25 minutes, it'll hit the tops of the mountains. But believe me, when that sun goes behind the mountain, she gets cold almost instantly. My fingers are turning blue. Usually I'll wear gloves when it's getting pretty cold. Well, put some dinner on, watch the news. I put some new stripping sealer, weather sealer on my doors. Tighter. Put it in here. Well, I'll tell you though, during the day, the sun hits this trailer and she gets up to 75, 80 degrees, and everything in there heats up, the books and all that mass of material in there. And then the heat will stay in there just about all day. Well, I'd say about 3 hours after the sun goes down, it starts cooling off inside. Another place I'd like to check out is this big outcrop over here. It's really different. I'd like to go over there and do a little video. But after I take all the gold from these plains and these mountains and the washes, after all that gold is in my pocket, then I'll move to the other side of the expressway. About 3 more days, I'll have this place pretty well cleaned out. Well, today is January 10th, or the 9th, yeah, Monday the 9th. I'm going to take a hike up the side of this mountain here and then go along the top, down, and then come back down through the valley. Take some video today, leave my mining stuff back in the trailer. Quartzsite has a few more trailers down there today. RVs. The place is growing by leaps and bounds. Well, I'm up on top of the ridge. A couple fellows from Washington are parked down there. They're doing some metal detecting. You can see my camp down over here. One of the fellows is right here. Then the other fellow is down there. The guy in the white shirt there lives downwind from Mount St. Helen. And he was talking about his sheepdog with the long hair. Got wet that morning and the ash kept accumulating in his hair and he could hardly get up. He weighed so much at the end of the day. Had to wash out the ash. This is Tyson Canyon right here, Tyson Wash. Goes down, ends up running through quartzsite down here. Now right in quartzsite there's a lot of placer gold. You'll see people digging down there all the time. Well, there's the top. Whenever I find a quartz seam like this one right here, I always take a good close look at it, kick the stones around, looking for a possible gold seam. Figure most of your prospectors they won't climb this high. Most of them are content to stay down in the lowlands. I'll tell you, a lot of your gold, your seams are on top of the mountain or the top 2/3 of the mountain. You just never know when you're going to stumble into something. Down here is a small hillock of solid white quartz. We'll end up down there eventually, and I'll videotape it. That's just a massive deposit. I'm sure it's been gone over 1,000 times. Well, what I thought was the top is not the top. I think the top might be over here. This isn't bad climbing, it's not that steep, but there's a lot of loose rocks. There's nothing really steep about it, just a gradual hike. This peak here is about 3,000 feet. My trailer down there is at 600 feet. Now here we are up near the top, and we've got a cactus about 12 feet tall. Now here's another saguaro starting up, little one. Well, another mountain conquered. We'll name this one Kneale Knoll. Well, my conquest is invalid. I just found a beer can over here. It's okay though, it's Budweiser. Now over here at a place they call Middle Camp, guy's rolling in with a flatbed and a bulldozer. He's taking his prospecting pretty seriously. See if I can pick him up again here. Oh, there he is. Right there. Middle Camp was a camp between the La Paz mining camp on the Colorado River, which is right through this gap, and just the other side of the gap is Blythe, California. That's the border between Arizona and California. Well, Middle Camp was here. La Paz was on the Colorado River, and this was during the 1860s. And down here they had the Butterworth Stage Station, 1860s, 70s. That building is still standing. It's adobe brick, no roof. The Butterworth stage line ran pretty much where the present-day expressway is. Runs between the gap and the mountains over here, the Plumosa Mountains, coming from Phoenix, and ran down through the middle of the valley, right along the present course of the expressway, and ended up running through the gap to Middle Camp, and then La Paz, and then Blythe. Blythe or Blythe, I'm not sure which it is. Well, our next stop is going to be this group of 3 mining tunnels over here. a little videotaping of those. Down below you can see road coming up. Here's an old mule trail here. And then you get further up and you've got pretty much just a mule trail that's put in. Then you go up and you've got one mine tunnel here, and one here, and number 3. My God, I'll tell you, when they worked those hillsides like that, that's when men were men. Hard work. Then depending too on the time of year, if it was summer, it was a scorcher up here. Right now it's nice. It's probably 60 degrees right now. Not too hot, not too cold. See California over here. And parts of the Sierra Madres. I'm going to be doing a lot of checking in the Tyson Wash down here. There seems to have been a lot of dry washing activity in the past. You see piles of earth here and there. Get back to camp, I'm going to have to show you a picture of what dry washing is exactly, so you know what I'm talking about. Tremendous amount of iron staining all through these hills. You can see the dark rock. That's always a good sign for other minerals. Copper, gold, gypsum, silver. Well, I see a lot of pickups all through this whole area here. It's almost a dozen that I can see from up here. And supposedly, most of this through here belongs to that mining company. Now, the day I was up here at that number 3 tunnel, was sitting there, and the guys, 2 pickups were driving through here. They stopped here, and I watched through binoculars, and they looked up there and saw me. Drove back, came around up the road here, stopped at this washout, and they all got out, and I could see pistols on 2 of them, and one had a rifle. And when the son of a bitches started up this road, I went up over the top and down the backside and around, and went down this valley behind this hill here and cut back to camp. Might have been nothing at all except some hunters, but the way they stopped and changed course the way they did, and they kept peering up at me, I figured the best thing to do was to adopt a strategic retreat. Better not take chances up here when you're by yourself. A lot of people disappear back here. You never find them. Got another nice quartz deposit here. Now you take an area like this up here, the gold can be sitting right on top and just speckle the top of these plateaus. Because if they're on top like this. They can't roll off and end up in the bottom. You can see quartzite off in the distance. Getting bigger and bigger every day. Should peak in about 2 weeks. The fellows from Washington just pulled up here. They're prospecting down through here, metal detecting. Well, this shaft right here has been taken, or I should say tunnel, it's been taken over by a pack rat. Here's a piece with some copper staining. Now you'll find gold and copper together many times. I don't know if this was just a prospect hole or if it was a full-fledged operation. A prospect hole is just looking at some good color. They'll go down 20 or 30 feet if they suspect gold is in the vein. Especially if they come up with copper stained rock. They'll dig back in. Check her out. Usually a full-scale operation, they'll have a bigger tailing pile. This thing right here isn't that big. A lot of mineralized rock here, though. Generally, you'll find gold and quartz that has cooled slowly. If it cools rapidly, you usually won't find any mineral with it. Precious mineral. Well, that was quite a vein there. I'm going to see if there's any color in it. Now I noticed down in the head of the valley, they've got a sign down there that says keep out. But this is all BLM property and they can't keep you out. Can't take minerals out if it's under claim though, but you can camp on it or videotape. Got some nice mineralization in here in this vein, but I don't see any color. I'm not going too far down in there. I don't have my flashlight. I left this big piece here for support the roof. Here's a claim marker pile. Here we go. Prince Albert in a can. How'd they ever get Prince Albert in the can? He's got his claim notification here. Always read these and then put them back. It says notice of mining location, and 1961, February. I think since this one's no longer valid, I'll keep it. You can see the route I took along the top up here. And here's the 3 mine tunnels. Lunch break. It's 12:30. Always have my water. Then I mix peanuts in with my Quaker's natural cereal that has the almonds, dates, the raisins. It's usually full. It's good trail food. Now, even us dyed-in-the-wool prospectors have to take a break once in a while. Speaking of dyed, I'm going to have to take this vest to the cleaners next time I go. Or the laundromat, I should say. Starting to smell like a Bermuda onion. This area that I'm standing on looks rather promising. I'm going to do some metal detecting here. There's a lot of mining tunnels up here on the hillside. You can see the tailing piles. Down below here, there's been a lot of excavating, bulldozing, digging. Over the years. So what I'm going to do is just do a lot of metal detecting in this whole area around me here. Got to concentrate on this for a few days. Right now we're going to walk over to this quartz hill that we saw while we were back up on the mountain behind us over here. Yeah, we were up there when I videotaped it. I've never seen quite so much quartz before in my life. This whole hill is just quartz vein. They've got a tunnel started here. I'm not going to go in. Doesn't go in that far anyway. But you can see the quartz is all mineralized. stained. This was just a prospect hole. See what was down there? Apparently there wasn't anything. Yeah, I've done a lot of traveling in gold country. Like I say, I've never seen a quartz deposit like this. All the rock you see here is white quartz. Almost like standing on top of a snow cone. I'll take a walk over here and take a look at that operation. Now here's a cactus with 8 arms. I keep track of these cactus and see which one has the most arms. This one's probably 20 feet tall, maybe a foot across the base. This is quite the operation they had here. They put up a retainer wall to keep the water coming down the wash and going into the shaft. Now, from my professional miner's opinion, I would say this thing was probably in operation just before World War II. The nails are round. The wood is extremely weathered. During World War II, all of the mining in North America was shut down during the war years, and then after the war, very little mining was taken up again. So I think this is probably 1930s. I don't see anything really old around here that would say it was before that time. Got a shaft over here. I'm going to give it the rock test. I always like to test them with a rock, see how deep they are. Yeah, that's over my head. That's about a 3.5 100-footer. Got another one over here. I always like to test these shafts out. I never get too close to the edge because they tend to undermine a little bit. This one's got, still has all the guts to it. Would have been interesting to have been here when this thing was in operation. This one isn't all that steep, but some of them are straight down. hundreds of feet. That's a deep one. Mucho deep. Boy, the quartz here is beautiful. The mineralization. This has got a lot of cinder ash in it. Pretty sparkly stuff. It'd be nice to make a house of this stuff. Bigger pieces though, or fence.
Now what they did is bring the material up to be in an ore car and a pulley. The good stuff dumped here to maybe a parked truck or something. And the stuff they didn't want went down this big chute into the wash. And then water carried away.
Now off in the distance you can see another ore chute over here. Got quite a quartz vein running out in front of me. Right here. They dug a prospect trench looking for color right here. And then the vein runs behind me and right up to the ore chute up here. It's a heck of a quartz vein. It must be 40, 50 feet wide. Runs over to that little quartz hillock through here, then right up the valley. Now when these teddy bear cactuses die, this is what you end up with over here. I've got a piece of this in my trailer. Kind of interesting. It's woody. It's got a woody texture. Full of holes. The ends of these eventually drop off. Ouch! And get caught in your finger. They also get caught on the end of your boots. They're really a hell of a stick tight. You can get it off. Like, oh! Then you end up with burrs in your boots. Those things are real bad on dogs. A dog will step on one of those. It's almost like stepping on porcupine. These little seed pods, you'll end up with another one growing. Here's some type of a nest in here. It's not being used. They're kind of pretty enough to keep your distance. About the tallest I've seen is 4 or 5 feet. Now this one right here isn't quite so big. We'll give it the rock test. Somebody put a sign up, Tyson Wash. Yep, it's a deep one. The only problem with falling down a mine shaft is you don't fall straight down, you bounce back and forth off the walls. Needless to say, it hurts. You wonder how many mafia killings have been dumped down some of these old shafts. They're all over Nevada, Arizona, California. Jimmy Hoffa, are you down there? I'll take another angle of the ore sluice. Well, there's been a little digging activity here. Looks like the battle scene of Anzio Beach or something. Craters all over the place. Be a good place to metal detect. It looks like they used a lot of dry washers in here. And dry washers tend to miss the bigger nuggets. Might do a little detecting in here. They definitely found gold because there's been so much activity. This is right below Tyson Wash, so the gold is coming down. Bigger stuff is probably down on bedrock, though. No telling how far down that is. Got 3 choppers up there. Possibly marine. I suspect they're heading for the 29 Palms Marine Base. Going in that direction. Well, it looks like I might be getting some company in my neck of the woods. Well, I went to bed early and looked out and I saw this, and I thought, well, I should get up and shoot that. It's kind of pretty. standing out here in my shorts and it's about 45 degrees right now, so I'm going to make it kind of quick. See the jet trails up there. Got a new moon coming on. Now that's going to be pretty when the moon is full and we get a nice sunset out here. Well, this is the end of January 10th. Spent the day in Quartzsite going through the flea market. Actually, it could take a week. The metropolis of Quartzsite is all lit up. You can see the cars coming around the mountain down here. Come around the bend. Out on the highway. Well, this is the morning of January 11th. Kind of a pretty sunrise over here. Colors change just about every hour. A little while ago it was more of a brighter. Well, today is January 14th. There's an ultralight plane up here. I'm waiting for him to go straight down. Well, there's absolutely no wind, so he's safe. Well, I had my Friday the 13th today on the 14th. Tried to start up the truck and the battery had dissipated on me. So I raised the hood and put a white cloth on the latch on the hood. Now I tried jumping it with my trailer battery, but it didn't have enough juice. So some guys were driving through and they saw my sign of distress and pulled over and jumped the truck. He asked if I'd been finding any gold, and that's what they're out here doing. They're from Iowa. And I said, no, but for coming over here and jumping my truck, I pulled out a little bottle of with a few ounces, few flakes of gold in it, and I handed it to him and I said, "That's yours to keep." He was really thrilled with that. Yeah, I'm letting the truck run. I just ran into town and let her run up. I think Monday, I'm going to town and videotape the flea market. A lot of interesting things down there to see. Well, last night I had the darndest cold, sore throat. First cold or sore throat I've had since I left Michigan. First, I spent all day down in that area about 5 days ago with all those thousands of people. And since I'm associating myself with civilization again, I guess I caught a little virus. Haven't had much luck with the gold. I'm going to try my other metal detector over in here. It's a little more sensitive. This gold here is so small that I don't think my regular metal detector that I like to use can pick it up. But the other one is, like I say, more sensitive. Well, starting the 20th and the 21st, they're having a metal detecting contest down here in Quartzsite. I'm going to go down and pay my entry fee. And they've got thousands of dollars in prizes. Now the expensive stuff, they have these little metal tokens that they put out there. They bury them. And if you find one of those, whatever's on the token, that's the prize you get. And then they're spreading a lot of coins out there. End up finding coins. But the tokens are the nice things. There's a pickup truck, and there's TVs, and all kinds of stuff like that. I'm going to give her a shot. I'll videotape a little bit of it. Had a lot of people stop by today. I've talked to folks from Iowa and Idaho and California. They're GPAA members, and they come over here and ask where the claim is, and I point out to them. And I point out the most likely looking places that I've found. I like to help these folks because I like the company. You know, if they decide to stay, then I go over and see them, talk to them. And if they find some good stuff when they leave, then I just kind of jump in that area where they worked. Well, I'm going to make some dinner. Been doing a lot of mountain climbing out here, but my main objective is to find gold. And well, I metal detect along the tops up there, and down the draws and the valleys, and on the sides, the slopes. There's a 5-pound nugget out there, by God, with my name on it. I'm going to find her. One way or the other. Drove over on the other side of the expressway today on Dome Rock Road, and a lot of people are camped over there looking for gold. May eventually camp over there myself. Change of scenery. We've got some big Marine Chinook helicopters coming through. Probably heading for 29 Palms Marine Base, California. It's about 40 miles off to the west. I parachuted out of one of those one time when I was in the 47th Engineers training exercise. Sit on the edge of the doorway, you've got your feet on the skids, and then you just lean forward and drop. Well, I've been taking it easy today. I've got a bit of a cold, even though it's about 65 out here right now. Had a fellow stop with a friend and their wives, and he owns these claims over here along the mountains, and he said, go ahead and work them, check them out. I didn't tell him that I've been checking them out. Nice guy. He looks a lot like Buffalo Bill Cody on the postage stamp. He's got a horn hat. He's going to come out here. He's got a backhoe and some other equipment. He's going to do some work, and I told him I'd make him a video so I can take it home. Quartzsite keeps getting bigger and bigger every day. Van and his wife, Ann Van Hook, from Chula Vista, California, are supposed to be here February 1st. They're going to camp, get some quail down here. These are valley quail. Now, if the season wasn't closed, I'd get a couple for dinner. They don't fly that much. They usually just run a mile a minute. Oh, I'm cooking popcorn. I don't want to burn it. Whenever I make popcorn, I always think of the kids and Kool-Aid. I can remember the time when we were kids, we'd make a big brown bag of it, go to the drive-in down 66. It's done. It's really beginning to green up out here. Notice the whole valley down here, the other side of Quartzsite, is a lot greener now than when I first came. There goes the quail down here. It's fun watching them run. They just, their little legs just move into a blur. Now, if I put seed out for them, I could have them right down here eating like I had up there at Saratoga Campground. In the morning, I just raise up and I look down and watch them feeding. I'm going to go in town Tuesday, and I think I'll pick up some seed for them. I kind of like to hear them in the morning. Well, it's a rotten time to have a cold. It's like summer down here, and end up with a cold. Yeah, if I feel a little better tomorrow, I think I'll get out and do some metal detecting. It's darn head cold. You know what those things do. Take away your ambition. Now these plants here should be flowering out pretty soon. I forget the name of them. I have to look these things up about once a week until I get it down pat. Different plants out here. Well, popcorn time. I'm going to send off all my letters that I've received in the last year, so keep them up at the house there with my other junk. Haven't got room for that sort of thing. I like to keep letters though. I never throw out letters. Trying to get rid of this darn cold. Just had a old prospector in here from Idaho, and I didn't have the camera on yet. I just had it sitting there. And he looked around and said, where's the girl? I said, girl? He said, well, yeah, it looks like you're going to make a movie. I said, well, I wish there was a girl here to make a movie with. Well, today is January 16th. And today's your birthday, Dad. Celebrating your 29th again. I've got something here I want to read from poetry of Robert Frost. And I think this poem here is kind of a symbol of your life. Of course, you've heard this one before. But the road not taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I think that's pretty well sums up your life. You took the road that wasn't quite as clear as the one you were traveling when you were a farmer. You knew what that kind of a life was like. And you made the right choice. Like you say, if you hadn't gone into the state police, you'd still be milking cows right now. Because farmers never really do retire. You know, they never make enough. They're it's like the two fellows who two farmers each won $1 million. And the one farmer was asked, well, what are you going to do with your $1 million? Well, I'm going to go to Florida, put the money in the bank, and live off the interest. Fish every day. And the other farmer said, well, I'm going to keep on farming until the money is all gone. That's just about the way it is, too. But I thought that would be nice to dedicate to you on your day. And I wish I had Mom's birthday, but the reason I remember yours is because you share it with Marty King. And I remember a comment you made one time about that honor, and I've always remembered your birthday. You know, it's easy to remember. Well, next month I'll be 41. Doesn't seem possible. When I was 18, I thought I'd never see 30. When I was 30, I thought I'd never see 40. It's funny how time slips by and things seem to work out. And life goes on. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of extra writing in my notebooks lately. And I've got one thing here about the girls in Quartzsite. It's kind of barroom humor. I'm not going to read it because I don't know who's watching this video. So when you read these notes, I have a feeling you're going to be doing a little chuckling occasionally. You know, I'm going to just take it easy today, try and get rid of this darn cold. It's gone right to my head. And then get out and do some more prospecting. Now, I've had a lot of people stop here in the last couple days. And an old fellow that owns 2 claims behind me stopped with his wife, and he said that if you watch my equipment while you're here, use it, plus you can work on my claims. I thought that was a great deal. And the old prospector who was just here used to work for Honeywell, and he's retired now, and prospecting. Lives year-round in his motorhome, travels around the Southwest with his wife. And he's got a lot of equipment he wants to sell. A 2-inch dredge I'd be interested in. And he's going to set up some of his equipment. I'm going to videotape him using it. He's got this little white dog about that long. Looks like a miniature Arctic fox. And while he's talking to me, the dog has got his teeth clamped into his hand, playing, pulling. I don't think he drew any blood, but yeah, I'll get him on video too. He's a cute dog. Well, I'm going to do a little reading in my Hemingway book. I'm going to send that back home. I think you'd really enjoy reading that, The Life of Ernest Hemingway. His war years during World War II, I think you'll find fascinating. That man lived probably one of the most exciting lives of any man in the 20th century. And I'm really surprised they someone hasn't made a movie of his life. Because there's a lot of adventure, romance, boozing, womanizing, intrigue. The guy knew everybody, from presidents on down to Cuban fishermen. But I think it would make an excellent movie. Even during his younger years, when he lived in Paris and Italy, just had an incredible personality. During his adult years, he had he'd make friendships, and then he would virtually destroy these friendships because of his rage at what people said about his books or about him. But he always had friends, but he develop a friendship. Something would sour it, and that would be the end of it. Well, the tape I've got on there now, I think I might fill up by the end of this month, and that'll be sent along with January's notes. So this birthday greeting is going to be 2 weeks after the fact. I hope you forgive me, but it's the way the camera rolls, I guess. So, hope you have a great birthday. I know everybody's going to be there. Hope you enjoyed the card I sent. Now the humor I have with the deer hunting is, that's what it is, it's humor. I'm not being critical of your hunting or anything. But no, anything I write to you is supposed to be humorous. Well, I just got back from town. Today is January 17th. Picked up your letter that you sent January 8th. I put all the pictures up here in the window. Now, I kind of wondered why Colleen was sitting in my chair. I thought, maybe you'd leave it vacant in my hunter. No. But I can smell the rolls, and I can smell the dressing. Where's the turkey? I keep looking for the turkey and I just don't see him. Well, it's probably one of those butterball turkeys, small, white meat. John is pensively sitting there, waiting to dig into something. And surprisingly, Sue is not busy with the kids. She gets to eat. Of course, Mom is always up doing something. This picture of Dad and Mom here, it's really surprising to me that Dad didn't make some kind of a face. You know how he is, big kid. I've seen a lot of pictures of Dad, big eyes or doing something out of the ordinary. It's a nice picture. I'll leave that right there where I can see it every day. These over here. Oh, all of my letters from last year, from a lot of different people, I'm going to send with my January notes and just store them up in my closet up there with that other stuff. But I like to keep the letters. You can read them if you want to. There's nothing in there that's, well, I don't know. There's might be a couple letters in there. Sun is shining, 20 degrees, 40 miles per hour, 5 inches of snow. I figured you'd look at that Christmas video from last year, and I know darn well, Dad, that you were watching Christmas Story, the movie. I think that's going to be a tradition from now on. Dad will watch that movie Christmas time. Still have my cold. Oh, I've got a couple of those four-wheel drive or four-wheel rubber tire jobs out there. A couple prospectors. Well, I moved my camp 100 yards, well, about 200 yards south of my old one because it's warmer down here, the further south you get. And, well, I've got company.
Might have to go back to your letter in a few minutes. No, they're just driving by. I just remembered I'm going to have to run back into town. I was charging up my video camera battery in the laundromat, did my laundry, and left it right down there, plugged in. I'll have to get right back down and get her. Did pretty good on the heads and the trophies. I like the part with the two real fine rifles you got there, Dad. Betty got the money and both guns repose in my gun room today, as they needed someone to adopt them. I thought that was really good. Oh, now, in San Francisco, in Chinatown, I know a Chinaman down there, and he's got a limp dick, and I think he probably would be interested in the rhino horn. So if you should come out here on vacation, mount the head of the rhino on the front of your pickup, and as you're driving through Chinatown, you'll have people rushing toward your pickup, and they're probably all Chinamen with limp dicks, and I'm sure you'll have no trouble selling that rhino head. Good price on the ivory, $50 a pound. But I was thinking that each one was heavier, but apparently they had that long nerve inside that cuts down on the weight. Oh, thanks for sending back the $50 money order. I had a heck of a time trying to cash it out here. I could have opened up an account, but just wouldn't be worth sticking around that long for it to clear through. Really enjoyed the letter. Like I say, I keep all my letters. That's one of the beauties of the old days, before they had telephones, because everybody wrote letters, and you had a written family history in that letter. And now today with telephones, you've lost that written family history that you used to get in your letters. But I think it's important to keep them. Because people don't write that much anymore. Plus these letters that I've got here, I've reread them several times and enjoy them. Well, this one I shall send back with this group. And at the end of this year, then I'll send back another big packet. Like I say, just stick these up with my junk. Well, those Hemingway books up there in the closet, they're all in one box. There's a Hemingway cassette in there of him receiving his Pulitzer Prize and reading some of his books. All that stuff we want to keep, because I'd like to keep all those books in the family. There's about 40 or 50 of them. They all deal with Hemingway. And I'm just beginning to finish up on his life story by Carlos Baker. And I'm sure you would really enjoy reading that book, Dad. It's especially the World War II section. Bug. One thing, you kill a bug in this trailer and it shakes the whole thing. Well, I'm going to run back to town, oh darn it, and pick up my video battery. I hope it's still there. Battery itself isn't that important. It's starting to drain down. I only get a half-hour running sequence with it now. But the charger, the charger I have to use to run my movies through the video camera. The charger is also the transfer module that'll transfer the signal into the television. So I shall end this conversation now and head back into town. A lot of good-looking girls down there right now, too. I really went out of my way today. I just played the part of the old Casanova. Problem is, well, they didn't have any rings, but by God, I'll tell you, I'm sure they had boyfriends someplace around. Good-looking women. So, run back to town. I'm going to have to buy a new battery for the truck. When I had some work done up there in Reed City, they put in an alarm system on the truck, motion alarm, and the son of a gun, he drilled into the post on the positive terminal to hook in a wire. And he broke that damn post, and I just found out a few months ago, and with all the jarring on the back roads, it's worked its way loose even more. It's not connecting inside the battery on the different plates, and it's not keeping a good charge, and there's been 2 different times now I've had people come over and jump me. Boy, that ticks me off. The battery's a year old. It's a 42-month battery, an Allstate. Paid $60 for it, I think. It's a good one. Heavy duty, crank, cold weather. Boy, that ticks me off. Go buy a new one. And hopefully never have that problem again. They charge about $30 for a chopper ride here. They take you down through the mountains and the valleys. Thought about taking the thing up and then shooting some video of the surrounding country. He has a helicopter pad down here in the flea market down here at Quartzsite. Well, there's a guy working the wash over here. It's from Idaho, and he's got a dry washer set up. Now his wife is with him. They've got a real nice motorhome, and she's a paraplegic, and he has to do everything. He has to pick her up, lift her, go to the bathroom, and she can't do anything. From the neck down, she's completely gone. It's been about 18 years. He's retired now, but for 18 years now, he's had to take care of her like that. Hell of a guy, I'll tell you. Just unbelievable. Well, I've got to buy a new battery for my truck. I've had to have it jump twice. That positive post was broken off inside. Brand new battery last year too. That just really grabs me. I moved my camp from that ridge over there, brought it down through and up, and I've got this head cold. I'm not really thinking clearly, and I left my padlock on the tongue of the trailer right there when I was bringing it over. I lost that, but I've got an extra one. I put that back on. And while I was over there looking for the padlock, I found a piece of plastic that had popped off the end of my my awning up here, that end piece, and it had fallen on the ground, and the trailer ran over it, the wheel. And I'll tell you, it's just been a hell of a day. And yesterday I went to the laundry and I plugged my video camera charger box in. It's a big job. You also have to use that to watch the videos on television. And I had that 2-hour, $40 battery in there. And I'll be goddamned if somebody didn't take that while I was not looking. Took the battery and took the charger. God, that pissed me off. And I went to the girl who was running the thing, and I explained it to her, and I said, if somebody returns that, I'll give them a reward. And she got all huffy, and she said, you're not supposed to charge anything in here like that. I said, it probably used a penny's worth of electricity. And she just kept bitching at me, and I said, you remind me of my ex-wife. I said, she used to be a real bitch, too. And I turned my back and walked away. But needless to say, my video taking is going to have a crimp put in it because I've got this one battery pack, and when I charge that up, it takes all night long. Now the other one was a 2-hour charger. So I'm going to be cutting back on my video a little bit. What I want to do right now is finish up this tape I've got in here. I want to send it back with this letter I'm sending out, and I'm going to send some gold bottles up. There's enough gold in there where I wouldn't make that much money on them, and I'd rather have Dad and Mom have them. It's kind of a memento of their son's prospecting years. Boy, I've had this darn flu so bad, I'm really not thinking straight. It's gone right to my head, my chest. Now, it's real warm out right now. In the sun, it's probably 75. That's the only reason I'm standing out here. Well, I'm going to put this camera in a tripod, talk to you, finish up this film here just about completely. Just got a few minutes left on that tape. Whoop. I always do that with this chair, it never catches in the back. I feel like you're going over backwards. Well, I'm gonna probably do some job hunting in Phoenix or Tucson. I'm down to about my last 500, and then if I make enough by May, I want to buy a suction dredge, 6-inch, and have a little extra for expenses. Then go back up to Northern California in May and dredge on that Beaver Creek up there where I was camp host. There's a lot of gold in there, but using a sluice box and a shovel like I was doing, I was averaging just about $200 a week, but it's no way to do it. With a dredge, you can move 100 times the material. But the dredge you want to buy is this one right here. It's a 6-incher, and you can catch even the finest gold gets caught in the riffles back here. Then you've got your suction tubes down below. It's got an air supply and the whole bit. They run about $2,500. But gee, I was thinking, my birthday is next month, and I would always accept early inheritance. About $5,000. I could buy the dredge, pay my expenses, then I start finding gold, and I'd start sending back 1-ounce bottles, or I'd pay 10% on the loan. But like I wrote in the letter, those last two paragraphs were written with tongue-in-cheek while I was biting my lip. No, actually, I thought, you sell Grandpa's house, it'd be terrible to put that money in the bank and have it collect, what, 10%? Just get moldy and... Oh, I wrote in there too on the rhino head. I could mount that in front of the truck and drive through Chinatown. And when all these limp dick Chinamen came rushing out into the street, we'd have an auction right there on the spot. Kind of wonder, all that stuff was being sold, if Walt rolled over in his grave or if his fists are clenched. I thought when I came back to Michigan that John Dennis and I would go over and dig him up and see if he did roll over. I don't know who's going to be watching this, but I probably shouldn't be saying stuff like this. Oh, I would still like Dan's address. I keep asking for that. And also, if Colleen brought that tape down of Ed Dunkel, I'd like to know if the tape is down there, because I want to keep them together. But like I've said before, eventually I want the kids to have all my tapes and my notes, and not for a few years yet, if anything ever happened to me. And it's easy to run copies off. You can put 3 of those tapes on one tape if you press your 6-hour taping on the VCR. So they could either have copies of the originals. Better to have copies, though, because the originals always have the finest clarity. But I think if those kids got those tapes right now, Gene would probably